So today we're learning one of the most powerful tools in project management. Earned value management, or EVM, answers three simple questions. Are we behind schedule? Are we over budget? If we continue performing like this, what will the final project cost? So instead of waiting until the end of the project, EVM allows us to monitor project health while work is still in progress. So EVM compares three things: what we plan to accomplish, what we actually accomplished, and how much money we actually spent. So using these three measurements, we can determine project performance today and forecast the future. So look at the graph on the right side. Notice that there are three curves: planned value, earned value, and actual costs. So the distance between these curves tells us what we're on schedule and on budget. So EVM terms, there are only seven important terms. The first four are measurements, and the last three are forecasts. PV, which stands for planned value, simply asks how much work should have been completed by today. EV, which stands for earned value, asks how much work have actually completed. AC, which stands for actual cost, asks how much have we actually spent. BAC, which stands for budget at completion, is simply the approved project budget. EAC stands for estimate at completion, predicts what we now believe the project will cost. While ETC, estimate to complete, asks the question, how much more money will it take to finish the project? And VAC is a variance at completion that tells us whether we'll finish above or below budget. So we don't need to try to memorize all the formulas. We just have to memorize earned value. Everything revolves around EV. So if we're calculating cost variance, then we are going to start with EV, and then we are going to normally use, if the question is cost, we're going to use actual cost. AC, same thing with cost performance index, AC. While schedule performance index, we're going to use the planned value, PV. Same thing with the schedule variance, PV. While we're talking about variance, it's going to be a minus, while schedule variance is also a minus, earned value minus planned value. Cost performance index this time around is going to be division divided by AC. And schedule performance index is EV divided by PV. If it's less than 1, then therefore it is not good. If it's 1, then we are on point. And then if it's greater than 1, then that means the results are good. So the formula only produces numbers. Project manager must interpret what those numbers mean. CV, if it's positive, is good. That means we are under budget. If it's negative, then it is bad. We are over budget. While SV, schedule variance, if the answer is positive, then that means we are ahead of schedule. If it's negative, it means we are behind schedule. And then in the CPI, if it's greater than 1, then that means it's excellent. We are getting more work for every dollar that we have spent. If it's equal to 1, then that means it's exactly on budget. If it's less than 1, then that means we are wasting money. SPI, if it's greater than 1, it means we are ahead of schedule. And if it's less than 1, then that means we are behind schedule. EAC is the expected total project cost. We're going to talk about on the next slide the different calculations for EAC. ETC is how much money is still needed. VAC, variance at completion, is basically what is the expected surplus or deficit. when we complete the project, and TCPI, what level of efficiency must we achieve to finish the budget? So here's a calculation, the different types of formulas to calculate estimate at completion. If the scenario in the multiple choice questions or any problem says that the original estimate was fundamentally flawed and we need to revise the budget, then the formula will be the actual cost plus EPC, estimate to complete, meaning we're going to do the bottom up estimation. If the scenario is performance was bad in the past, but the budget is still intact for the remaining work, then therefore its actual cost plus BAC minus EV. And then if its cost performance is what it is, then we don't need to change the same rate of the way we're spending currently, right? So this is the default formula. You have to remember this formula whenever this question of estimate at completion is asked. So the formula is BAC, budget at completion, divided by cost performance index. Normally, most of the questions, the formula that you will use is this one. But if the scenario tells you that it's different, you see a number one scenario or number two scenario or number four scenario, then you have to follow their respective formulas. So number four is cost and schedule performance are relevant to predict the outcome. Again, we're going to start with actual cost plus BAC minus EV divided by SPI times CPI. So you should think of EVM in two groups. When we're talking about PV, EV, and AC, it tells us where we are today. While if we're talking about BAC, ETC, EAC, BAC, it tells us where we are likely to end. So now let's apply everything we've learned to a practical example. Imagine that you are a project manager responsible for building new fence. The fence has four sides, and each side is planned to take 1 day to complete. Each side has a budget of $1,000, making the total project budget of $4,000. According to the original schedule, by the end of day three, we should have completed these three sides of the fence. Now let's compare the plan with what actually happened. Side one was completed and cost exactly $1,000. Side two was also completed, but it cost 1,200, which is more than budgeted. While side three has only been completed halfway and has already cost $600. Side four has not yet started. So at this point, don't worry about the formulas yet. I simply want you to observe the project. Looking at the information, it already appears that we are behind schedule because only 2.5 sites have been completed instead of three. It also appears that we may be spending more than originally planned. Earned value management allows us to measure exactly how far behind schedule we are and how much we are over or under budget. So let's calculate each metric one at a time. So now it's your turn to think like a project manager. Using the information from the fence project, complete the worksheet shown on this slide. I recommend that you pause the video before I begin solving the problem. Try to calculate each earned value management metric on your own. Start calculating the four basic values: planned value, earned value, actual costs, budget at completion. Once you have the four value, then you can continue calculating cost variance, cost performance index, schedule variance, schedule performance index, and finally calculate the forecasting measures of estimate at completion, estimate to complete, variance at completion. As you complete each calculation, don't stop with just the formula or the number or the numerical answer. The most important part of earned value management is the interpretation. For every metric, ask yourself, what does this number tell me about the health of the project? Is the project ahead or behind schedule? Is it under or over budget? If current performance continues, what should I expect at the project completion? Once you have attempted the calculations, resume the video and compare your own with my solution. As we work through each metric together, pay close attention not only to the calculations, but also to how each result helps project managers make better decisions. So let's continue with the calculations. Let me just show you the table. So the first thing that we need to calculate is planned value. We are in day three, so and the budget is 1,000 per day. So therefore, 1,000 times 3 days is equals to $3,000. And then we can say that we should have done $3,000 worth of work. The next is earned value. So it depends on the performance. As of day three, we have completed both two fence one and fence two. So then the budget is $1,000 per fence. 1,000 plus 1,000 for fence number two plus 50% of 1,000. So 50% of 1,000 is 500. So therefore, the answer is 2,500. So we can say that we have actually completed 2,500, 2,500 worth of work. Then therefore, the actual cost said, day one, we spend $1,000. Day two, we spend $1,200. And day three, we spent $600, which gives us an actual cost of $2,800. We can say that we have actually spent $2,800. The budget at completion is basically what the budget. So there is 1,000 per fence times four fences equals to 4,000. Our project budget is $4,000. Cost variance, again, for every calculation, we start with what? With EV. So it's 2,500 and its variance, so minus the actual cost of 2,800 will give us negative 300. We can say that currently we are over budget by $300. What about cost performance index? Same, but we're going to do division 2,500 divided by the actual cost of 2,800 will give us an answer of 0.893. So we can say that you are only getting 89 cents out of every dollar we spend, which is not good. Schedule variance, again, start with EV, 2,500 minus PV of $3,000 will give us an answer of negative 500. And we can now say that if it's negative, we are behind schedule. SPI, same thing, EV, 2,500, but this time it's a division divided by 3,000 will give us an answer of 0.833. And we can say that we are only progressing at about 83% of the rate plan. Again, that answer is not good. Estimated completion, if we're going to use the default formula, which is BAC 4,000 divided by the current CPI, which is 0.893, will give us an answer of 4,479. So we currently estimate that the total project will cost 4,471. Therefore, the estimate to complete is 4,479 EAC minus the actual cost that we have spent, 2,800, will give us an answer of 1,679. And we can say that we need to spend 1,679 to finish the project. So now what is the variance? It starts with BAC, 4,000, minus EAC, the new estimation of 4,479, gives us an answer of negative 479. And what can we say about this? We currently expect to be 479 over the budget when the project is completed. So there you go. That's a calculation for earned value management. So it's really important that we're not only going to come up with the numbers, but we are able to interpret it as a project manager or as a project management team so that we can provide input not only to the team, but also to the sponsors and to the management so that they understand exactly what the status of the project is. So thank you for listening and hope this is clear. And we'll talk to you later again.